Hello. We're live.
Oh,
Hello.
good morning.
Oh, you have some strong microphone there, Christian.
No, maybe I'm just loud.
Or that. But if you're loud, at least I'm not able to hear Aitan's fan. So
I turned
that's
off the fan and I turned off the dog. No background noise. I mean, what?
turn off the dog.
No, she's asleep.
She's asleep. Yeah.
Isn't it really hot out there in Boston?
No, it finally
Oh.
cooled down. Do you understand if I give a number in Celsius, are you gonna like explode or no? I'm just kidding.
No.
So yesterday was
I'll Google it real quick.
Okay. Tuesday, I think it was 110. Not so that was right. And then today it's 70.
Wait, what? 110 Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
No.
Feels like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, okay. It was like 102. Feels like 110.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
110 Celsius would be a little bit too much, I think. But I don't think a fan can help you with 110 Celsius.
No, it's probably it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been very hot. It did finally break, so I'm very happy.
Nice. Hey,
People probably don't want to hear about the weather.
I don't know. Well, if you want to hear about the weather or not, say hello in the comments so we know. Otherwise, we'll just go around and just talk about weather.
Continue to talk about the weather.
Yeah. No. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about tracing for the agentic age. I'll just read the description because that's what I'll read. Tracing has been around for quite a while now, and as microservices started getting more and more popular over time, engineers started creating clever solutions to debug the web of services they just created. It wasn't that environment that distributed tracing was originally born. So if you've been around for a while, why is everyone talking about it now? And we'll examine this question today and basically talk about how is tracing different and or the same when you're running agents, and how does it look like?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Is it any different?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that entire prompt, or that description was not AI generated. Let me just say, I know there's a lot of that was pure prose.
That's why I read it. That's why I read it. That's what I was like.
Brain.
Yeah, I was like, I know it's not AI, so let me read it, and because
so the question is it different? Is that
the question is just like what's people are tracing is becoming a big topic. So is it why is it like people have been talking about tracing for years, but it felt kind of like a pipe dream, right? This whole distributed tracing thing, like these Jaeger had these amazing demos back in the day. You'd be like, holy cow, like I need that, right? Like I need to know what my services are doing, but somehow it always falls by the wayside, or it's really hard to do. So why is everyone talking about it now? And is just why is everyone talking about it now? Is it the same? Is it different? What's the deal?
I think in an agent world, you have some of the same concerns around debugability and insight into the agent, but I think there's an even bigger one, which is trying to understand what caused an agent to do what it did.
Yeah,
that's huge.
I agree.
Like from a compliance standpoint and understanding the context an agent had and the decisions it made and why it made it. You need to know that kind of stuff. The auditors are going to want to know why an agent did something. And you can't just say, well, we're not sure. So
yeah, no, for sure. I think like traditionally when you would sample, even if you did have distributed tracing up for your environment, usually you have sample rates, right? So maybe you trace 5% of it, 10, 15, 20, right? But I think with these kinds of with this kind of traffic, right, we're really talking about 100%, because
it's non-deterministic, right? I mean,
right.
That's the reason, right? If you had like a typical APIs, you at least have a finite set of things, in a way, things that can go wrong and the responses that you could receive based on the input. Whereas with agents and LLMs involved, you don't know what you're going to get back, right? It's not enough to sample, like as you said, like 1% of all the traffic or all the anything that gets sent to the agent and then through the LLMs and back, because it's not going to tell you anything, right?
And the reason why it's 100%. So I'll even take this a step further. And I'm working on a blog right now that goes into a little bit more detail. But if you think about this in terms of Kubernetes, just for example, for a second, and we've deployed an agent, let's say even an agent per container or per pod in Kubernetes. If you have multiple replicas of that pod, I would even argue that each one of those replicas are different. They're not replicas in the same way that APIs can be replicated. They're different. They have different contexts, different historical, facts that they're looking at. They're talking to LLMs, which will make probabilistic responses. So each one of those is different, and I think that's a big reason why tracing, logging, observability into each of those is important.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Right, like the mixture of new concepts here, it just makes it so that we're dealing with, it's like the same. It's like the nice thing is that you have the same underlying network topology, so we can reuse this technology, right? Like we can reuse a lot of the lessons that we've already learned, but we really need to use those lessons now.
Yeah.
Cool. So should I jump into the demo? What do we think?
Yeah, let's talk through the demo. I'm curious to see
Alrighty. So
how it looks like.
Let me share my screen. So for this demo, we're going to use Kagent, obviously. So we're going to be dealing with two apps. We're going to be dealing with Kagent and then Jaeger when it comes to it. So
once Eitan shares, everyone will see.
I'm getting it already. All right. Come on, hold on. I'm doing my best.
Connecting the wires and
exactly, feeding the dog. All right. Sharing, allow to use operating system. Okay, share this window. All right. Can y'all see this screen?
Yeah. Let me just move us around a little bit. Yeah, I think that's
awesome. All right, so I'm not going to dig too deep into this screen or Kagent. Actually, oops, there's a little sneak preview here. I'm not going to dig too deep into Kagent generally because we've done a bunch of live streams about it, so I'm just going to dive right in. So the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to, use our K8s agent. So this is the one that we've talked about quite a lot. Oh, no, this is not. That is not what I clicked. Give me 1 second. This guy. Oh, hold on. That's not happy. What's going on there? There we go.
I thought you found a bug or something.
I did, but we'll talk about that bug later. That's an ID versus name bug. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask this agent a really simple question, right? I'm going to say, hey, like what pods are running in my cluster? Now, this is a pretty simple flow overall, and we'll see that in a second. But there's still some interesting parts to this that we're going to take a look at. So the agent, it went ahead and we see that it called this tool, and then it's going to tell me what the answers are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Jaeger and we're going to take a look at this flow. So I've configured in the background, I've configured Kagent to point to a local Jaeger instance to send open telemetry traces. So we support open telemetry out of the box. Because pretty much every vendor supports OTel now. It's really awesome how quickly that has become the go-to standard everywhere.
Before you go into Jaeger, Eitan,
I'm not there.
Oh, I see it. Before you get in there.
No, I'm not in there yet. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No,
I was going to say, can you comment on whether, first of all, this configuration is documented, and second of all, can you show the configure? How did you configure?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so okay, I did this the other day. This was pretty fun. So first of all, I'm gonna go to Kagent Dev and I'm gonna bring up the doc that I just created under Getting Started Tracing. So if you walk through this doc, it'll show you all you need to get started with tracing in Kagent. I'll put that. I actually don't think I can.
I'll put it in the chat.
So that gives you all the information you need to get started. And then In terms of what the configuration looks like, that's such a great question. In fact, I'm going to ask our Helm agent how it's configured. So can you give... Oh, I'm not going to do that because I have an API key in there and it's going to tell me that value. So, okay.
Yeah, but what would the API key be pointing to? Is that something like... Isn't Jaeger running
it's
locally?
my OpenAI key.
Oh, okay.
Who cares? No one's gonna steal
Oh
your...
man, I've done that before.
So, I mean, I guess I could do it and then immediately disable it. I'm not really in the mood to do that. But basically, I could ask it how to configure how it's configured. But if you take a look here at this example, I created a values file with the following block: OTel tracing enabled, and the exporter is OTLP, right, which is the gRPC OTel version, and then it's pointing to a local service in my cluster called the Jaeger collector in the Jaeger namespace. And then that's it. That's the whole thing. That's all you have to do.
Actually, Eitan, you could try and use the agent, but do it off screen. Just do the show me the configuration, but don't show my open API key and see what it responds. If it will actually like remove, but do it off screen just for
because it's going to show the.
I don't know if it's going to show
or something or
no.
Values file.
Yeah. I'll show you the YAML, right? And the YAML. I think YAML has. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We'll see if adding "do not show my API keys" will actually, just for fun, right? Let's see.
All right. Well, I'm sending that in the background. But yeah, so that's it. This is all you need to do. Cool. Sorry, I messed up.
And then is it just automatically on for everything?
Yes. So there's no sampling rate. It's 100%.
And then installing Jaeger is just that help.
It masked it.
Of course, that's what I told you, right?
So all right, let's reopen our local host.
Just don't skip the wizard. Yeah,
it's just because I'm in a private window. So we're gonna go to my Helm agent here, and you'll see that I asked it, can you give me the mask the OpenAI key? And you see here.
Oh, nice. Cool. Maybe we should add that by default in the prompt to say like mask secret keys. Values, right?
Well, realistically, if we're being honest, if you were deploying this into a prod environment, the key probably would not be in the Helm values to be in a secret. But that being said, so here are my values. You'll see here that there's this bit. So that's exactly what we were just talking about, where you set OTel tracing enabled and then OTLP true. Or sorry, OTLP is pointing at the Jaeger collector. So,
and the installation of Jaeger is just like that Helm chart you installed. There's nothing special in the.
Well, we can add. Can you also get me the values for the Jaeger release?
I was gonna show you all the secrets.
Yeah, it's gonna show me the Jaeger values for all that. Here you go. That's it.
Oh, okay, but that's the config for the actual just out of the box or whatever the Jaeger Helm chart, and that's it. There's nothing special, nothing else.
Nope.
Right? Yeah.
Nope, nothing. Just all-in-one Jaeger. So all-in-one Jaeger is basically UI, receivers, everything. Definitely not what you'd be want to run in prod. I don't know if I.
Sure. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Great for situations like this. You can also just run it in a Docker container locally. But just, this is it's a good demo. All right. So now. All right, Christian, am I allowed to move on to the tracing?
Let's do it.
All righty. Okay, so we are officially in our Jaeger. So we have our service, which is called kagent, and let's go take a look at our traces. Okay, so we've got a couple of different traces here, and the important one that we want to look at is run stream. So run stream is the operation that we do on the back end. Whenever we run a set of agents, basically, or any agent workflow.
So whenever you call an agent, whenever you send a query
yes,
to
exactly.
It, right?
Whenever you send a query to an agent. And we can rename this if others have good ideas, put them in the chat. So let's take a look at, and we can just take a look at any of them. So let's take a look at this first one. And as we can see here, what happened, so we can actually trace the invocation of the agent directly in here. So we have quite a bit of information. So we see that first we invoked it. We chatted with OpenAI. OpenAI told us that we need to execute a tool. So here's that tool being executed. As you can see, we executed the Helm get release function or tool. And this is the description for that tool. This is the call ID. And the call ID will allow us to correlate that information back into the metadata in the OpenAI call that you see here. So the OpenAI call is using the OpenAI tracing library, and that information will all be in here. Call arguments, see here. These are the arguments. So, and somewhere in here will be the call ID. So that's, here it is. There you go.
Yeah.
So you can actually go. So now what we can do is we can correlate the arguments with the release, et cetera, et cetera. So we have all of the information we need to create a full picture. Is there a way to print trace IDs in logs? You trace IDs. So, I see what you're saying. Yes. Well, not today, but that's a good idea, right? Like in an access log, right? For any given request, have the stream ID. I don't think that we do that today, but that's a really good idea. Yeah. So as you can see here, we did that. And then once we finished that tool call, then we went back in and we asked the agent again, right? With that information, we talked to KAgent, we talked to OpenAI. It didn't need any more tool calls, and it returned the information, and that was that. So that is a very simple example. So now that we've done the simple example, I'm going to move on to something a little bit more complicated. So in the background, I've created.
So what this will actually also give you if there's like an error, right? If the LLM like fails or whatever, now you'll get an error in the UI as well, right? But you will also get an error in the
so not just the LLM, you'll also get an error if something happens
internally,
in
right?
our system or in your system, right? Assuming, and again, I think the difficult thing with tracing has always been that the system needs to be instrumented for tracing.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think that, again, because these systems are becoming more and more autonomous, it's so important that we instrument our systems properly to be able, so that we can track them without necessarily knowing exactly what they're doing, which is a very scary proposition, but an incredibly important one. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this agent that I created called a multi-agent. Now, what's a multi-agent? A multi-agent is just it's just an agent that uses other agents as tools. So in this particular case, I have given it two agents as tools, the Helm agent and the Kubernetes agent. And I've also given it an set of instructions that says always use the K&S agent tool for Kubernetes related questions and always use the Helm tool for Helm related questions. Now, this is not a particularly useful agent on its face, right? The point here is just to demonstrate what this will look like when you have nested tracing across multiple agents. So that's it. Very, very simple agent. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a conversation with that agent. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to say, hey there, can you list all of the namespaces and in my cluster, and then find all of the Helm releases in those namespaces.
Just don't say values.
So if this works correctly, and again, we keep joking, but one of the problems, right, is I did this in a demo and it worked great, but I have no idea if it's going to work now. It looks like, it did a lot of stuff, but it failed. Okay, that's unfortunate. Let's see. Why did it fail?
But that's good. At least now we'll see why it failed.
Huh. Whoa.
That's a new one, right?
Didn't fail for good reason.
That's a new one, yeah.
Why did it try to run? I have checked the. What is it? Huh.
Oh, it's trying to list it in. Oh, it's trying to do it in parallel, right? Probably, but for
It is
whatever
trying
reason.
to do it in parallel.
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
Which
Well,
is
look,
smart.
covered a
look at the
bug.
Look at the traces. I want
Yeah,
to
let's
see
go
the
take a look
failures in the
at the
trace.
tracing. But this is
Let's
so
see.
interesting.
Yeah, let's see if Eitan is lying or not. If you can actually see the errors. There
What?
you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Those are
Yeah.
errors. Look at that. So
Anybody
as
who's
you can-
watching, by the way, this was all pre-prepared and
yeah. Let me just say that this is not how it behaved the 3 times that I tried it before this, which is the most fun part of this
don't
whole
like
job.
why are you saying that, Eitan? It was prepared. It was a scripted demo. We're all good actors here.
So let's start from the beginning on this guy, right? So we have 3 interactions here, right? Firstly, we chatted with the we ran the multi-agent, right? And it got all the information that it needed from Kubernetes, right? So that's this chain here. Awesome. And then so that's it executing the kagent agent tool. And then once we've done that, then it says, okay, I know all the namespaces, so I'm going to go ask the Helm agent, right? So it's executing the tool Helm agent. So the first thing it does is it goes to OpenAI, right? And it does Helm list releases, which seems to succeed. But then, so that's the first because it lists the releases in the default namespace. But then it tries to do it all in a bunch of places all at the same time. And for some reason, that fails. And it looks like we get the same log here, but we get
With the traces and everything.
this is
it's really
so
nice.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
there you
actually
go.
really nice. We get a lot of information, so it actually tells us the spot in the code that this happened, so we can go back and fix it. This is so cool. I didn't expect this at all.
You're such a good actor.
But
You're gonna
anyway,
get
yeah.
a K agent award for acting.
And then once that happens,
Oscar.
and it talked to OpenAI with all that information, and then it came back to us. So as you can see, again, this whole 11-second interaction is all traced out from start to finish. And this happens with every agent interaction that you have. So you should be able to very easily understand at any point. And the other nice thing is, if I look at any of these OpenAI.chat guys, I can actually see the entire prompt here.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, it's everything. Yeah.
It's everything. You can see literally everything that's being sent.
So what you can do is practically, right? Let's say that one of these is not returning you, like let's say you're nested deep with the inputs and whatnot, like all the messages that are being sent back and forth. If you find one of these, you get to it. You can actually isolate this and then use this as your test case, right? To figure out, like, to actually see what is the actual input to the agent, right? Because it's not necessarily the same input that you gave it, right? It might be something else.
And one of the things that I would love to do, and I should create an issue for this in Cajun, but I think would be so effing cool, would be if you could feed this interaction, you could feed a trace basically back into Cajun to like kind of replay it with slightly different
values,
values, slightly different tool calls. Like, I think that'd be so cool, right? Because if you're looking for a specific outcome and you don't get it, right? There's like, let's say you want to you're like, oh, this particular prompt OpenAI thing didn't behave the way I want. All right, let me take that, move it over here, change a couple of things, and see if I get what I want, and then replay from that point. Right?
Or just take this whole, let's say you take the whole conversation, right? The trace of the whole conversation, and you have multiple tool calls, right? You could probably mock out those tool calls and just run a lot of tests around it based on whatever the tool response that you get back, and then see how that impacts the final outcome, right?
Yeah. You probably mock any. I mean, these are all just
exactly. Exactly.
So,
but like if you wanted to say, oh, I want to test what happens if if there's no pods in my whatever in that namespace. I want to see how the response looks like. So instead of you going and deleting all the pods in a specific namespace,
Yeah.
use this, replace the input, and that's it, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, it'd be so cool if you could. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Sebastian said, right? It would be awesome to store it and in the future use it for evaluation or correction. Exactly. Yep.
I'm just imagining you have like a Jaeger like UI where, oh, this would be so cool. If you could like click in here and then edit this and then like hit play and then it would just go from that point.
Oh, yeah.
Like that would be
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
Make it happen. That's the next demo.
Oh, is that what we're doing next week?
Yep.
No. Like after this, you're showing.
Oh, got it. Yeah, that's the acting part. Is it?
I'll one up you and say, how about the similar interface, but then you add a breakpoint into a specific thing, and then you click play, right? And it stops, and you can inspect, and you can change the values, and you can resume. So, Arco's asking, is there a way to control the tracing sampling percentage?
No.
And
and that's on purpose. That's because of a conversation that we had before. We were saying that the actual number of these requests is much, much lower than a typical API, right? But the impact of any individual call is potentially much higher. And because it's non-deterministic, right, it's super important that you have an audit trail and the ability to understand at every point what the agents are doing.
I think we should have the ability to turn tracing on or off per agent. Okay. I would like to see. I mean, I guess if we're just throwing RFPs out here right now, I would like to see, like in the tracing UI, like a different breakout per agent type, maybe. Right? Because I think in the main UI to do the search, you just clicked on the K agent service, but if each
so if
each agent could have its own service
operation, so if you wanted to do like
you can do it.
Curious about like anytime it executes.
Oh, you can do it like all the tools, specific agents, whatever, right?
Like anytime it executes.
No, like so for example, show me all the spans, all of the spans from the Istio agent or the Helm agent, for example.
Yeah. Oh, execute. Okay. Execute agent.
Well, you probably don't
agent,
have
Helm
Istio,
agent.
right?
There you go. So this is all the ones that include calls to the Helm agent.
So there are basically four chats that you did with the Helm agent, right?
That involved in some way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you also have tags, and you can pick whatever you want in the tags as well, right? And do the. It's pretty nice.
Okay. And I see, but I see what you're saying, right? Like it's not native to, right? It's not like, whereas if you were in like the K-agent UI, right? Say like, give me like, click right, if you could be like, I don't know, click right click, get traces,
or view traces. Yeah. I mean, theoretically, we could deep link into Jaeger if we wanted to, because we know what the idea of the agent is, right? We could probably generate a link that goes directly to Jaeger, right?
I don't think, but I think there's a lot of, and one of the cool things that I didn't mention is actually that this tracing follows the, let me find it, the semantic conventions for Gen AI. Oh, it didn't. What? Okay, so OTel has a set of semantic conventions for Gen AI, and these traces follow that, which means in practice that you can use any like LLM agentic focused observability platform with these traces. So
awesome.
Yeah. So that's all I've got for the demo.
Try to make it work with the multi-agents. Try again. I want to see it work.
What do you want to see it do? Do you want me to just say try again?
No. Go to the multi-agent and then say, what was your previous prompt? I don't remember. All name. Just say find Helm releases in K-agent namespace, just in one, right?
No, that'll work because it's just going to call the Helm. The point that is, I was trying to, let's see. Okay.
No, but you can say give me all the pods.
The operation, right? But only get one Helm release at a time.
I don't think this.
No concurrent tool calls.
That's not gonna. There's no way.
Let's see. Who knows?
This is not gonna work. By the way, you can do thumbs down on that one and just.
No, to the
Yeah.
Let's see. Wait. No, it did it. You had no faith. Ye of little faith.
You were just lucky.
Or
are we good actors? No.
But it's still thinking. Is it gonna? Oh, there you go.
No, it
nice. It did it.
Ye of little faith. It did it. So let's go take.
Is the multi-agent stuff, is the multi-agent stuff implemented as tool calls?
Yeah.
Over MCP?
Not over MCP,
No,
but
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
It's all in process, but yeah.
If they were out of process and you were communicating them remote, would it be A to A?
No. Well, for the agent to agent, so we don't support external agents yet, but in the future, yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Or MCP, right? Because if you're just masquerading an agent, it's also totally legit. As long as we start the trace, so you are free to do whatever on that end.
And I'm assuming so. All these are agents as tools and built-in tools. Something that we call built-in tools today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it work the same with if you go and edit one of the agents and just add an MCP server?
It does.
It works the same way. It'll trace it. Oh, okay.
Because it'll just execute tool.
The tool
will be called everything
or
whatever.
Yeah.
And then you connect up agent gateway tracing, and then it should all flow nicely.
Exactly. So here we see that for some reason OpenAI listened to me, and it did what I told it to do. And each time it invoked the agent, it did it one at a time, specifically because I told it to. And each one, instead of having multiple, it has a single call. So who knew?
Very nice.
It looks like OpenAI does have concurrent tool calls now, which is pretty sick. But also you can tell it, you can ask it very nicely not to. So that's nice too.
Maybe we'll support it.
This technology makes me laugh. Cool. Well, that's all I've got. I mean, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about today?
No, I'd like if any questions from the audience around like tracing or K-agent in general, now would be the time to ask.
I should probably say this was this just made it into the latest. I think it's 0319. So if you
I'll be updating my demos. If we don't have any questions coming in, or while people are thinking about questions, I'd maybe bring something up. Like right now, the models or the agents are specifying ahead of time, hey, you have these tools. And now go off and do something. Where do you see this idea? Because I've seen it pop up a couple of times now. But where do you all see this idea of a more dynamic, on-demand discovery of tools or agents using something like a naming service, the agent naming service?
Agent naming, is that like DNS?
So in other words, you're working with the the agent's working with the LM, and you're saying, hey, this is the problem that I have. What access to agents would you need to solve this problem?
It's so funny. We were just talking about like if you had like an A2A skill router, right? Where you had let's say you had a bunch of agents that you were serving, like 500 or something, and each of them had a set of skills. Exactly. And you just ask a generic question, right? What would the outcome be?
What would be the right? So I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do X. What agents would help me do that? Right? Based on skills.
I think eventually most of these agents will just be dynamically generated, right? Which I think is like, again, this is something I've talked about from the beginning. I think part of the
that's what might be a little farther fetched. I'm just thinking, or not fetched, but farther down the line, the path. But like, I'm just thinking in terms of discovery.
But that's what you're talking about, right? That's
Yeah, not auto generated though.
Well, they are. I mean, because if you're like so in order like the tools are core to what an agent is, right? Like so if you're modifying the list of tools, right, then you're basically just creating a new agent. And so when I say auto generating, basically what I mean is just that you are sort of given the task, you are picking a system prompt
Set
set
of
of
tools.
tools
Yeah.
that perform that task the best, right? So that's why MCP supports system prompts. And so I think like the interesting thing will be, like
But
that's
for like more simple task agents or tool agents, right? That are, they have a very defined goal and explicit set of tools. I'm thinking more of agents that might be used on layers above those, that might be planning or orchestrating or strategizing. And so they need to be a little bit more, I think, a little bit more dynamic.
But that's all I'm saying. That's what I mean. They all but at the end of the day, it's the same as you, right? There always needs to be some parameters, right? Those abstractions can keep building on each other, but you need some, like, the actual thing that happens is the same. It's just turtles all the way down, right? So like I think as long as you build I don't know, does that make sense? Like you actually pick just because you have a really you have this, it's all just a tree, right? You have some planning agent, some let's say AGI agent, whatever, right? Some all the way at the top that you ask it a question and it has access to a set of tools that have access to a set of tools that have access to a set of tools that have access to a set of tools, on and on and on and on until it's able to actually perform literally any combination of anything in the world, right? Because it's able to determine at every point how to continue. And I think
that's where my question is, because that presupposes that somebody is giving them a static list of tools and that the agent will choose among them. But that's my question. What do we see? Are we starting to see where it's not a static? The agent will be able to discover tools based on the capabilities that it needs at runtime. Not, I got 5 things, I got to choose between these 5.
Well, I mean, I think if you're giving it access to a discovery mechanism, then you're basically giving it a set of tools, right? And I think especially from an enterprise perspective, I mean, I really doubt enterprises are going to want to give their agents untold number of tools, right? There's going to be some specific set that they're allowed to access.
Or they'll give their agents access to an agent that can create tools.
I don't think they're going to do that either.
And
that one's a little farther out.
The agent will tell other agent, hey, I need this tool to accomplish XYZ. Create me a tool. It'll create the tool and we'll run it, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. But that is a good point. Like, even a curated catalog is a fixed set of tools. But then I'm just thinking through, for a particular agent, they don't need all 500, let's say, in the catalog. They will need 3 or 4 that do a couple of things that they need, and that gets discovered at runtime.
Yeah, no, I agree. But again, I think that just comes down to you just need a really good planning agent that's able to, its entire purpose in the world is to figure out what tools are good for what scenario.
Right, exactly.
Because that's basically what, I mean, every OpenAI call, right, it can determine what, out of a set of 20 tools, which one is the best, right? But you need to do that somehow for 100, 500, 1,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, and then maybe the last thing is, I don't know if you all seen that framework in Babel. It's a Java framework.
Java?
Or is it Clojure? I don't know. It's the JVM. But one difference that they take there is, instead of using the LLM, a non-deterministic model for planning and choosing the path forward, they use something that's more deterministic. Here, let me find this.
I mean, that's just a workflow, right? You just take
It's
structured
more
output and you say, hey.
But it's not like fixed. It can still go through and try to understand, but it is more more constrained. Let me see if they give a link to here. So the planning step is pluggable, but the planning step here, where should I put this? Just in the private chat here?
Oh, Kotlin.
Yeah, you can do. Goal-oriented action planning. I'll share it in the chat with others as well. There you go.
Oh, and here's the link to the Babel agent thing.
Go. Oh, Embabble, that's what it's called.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, again, I think that's very similar to,
Embabble. It's not Embabble, it's Embabble.
Embabble? Oh, all right.
Weird.
That's how we say it out here in Phoenix.
Like AutoGen just released a graph flow, which I think is basically the same. This is like
it might be, yeah.
Where it's just a workflow, right? It's just a workflow by another name. And honestly, I think if you talk to the people who are really into this whole thing, they'll tell you that this is pointless because in the next 6 months to 2 years, like the LMs will be able to make all these decisions.
No, it's not about making the decisions. It's more about, can you constrain and control and put boundaries around what it is.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know. No one knows.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting.
I mean, the enterprises will know here pretty soon.
Who was I joking with that? You just need the first $1 billion to go missing, and then all of a sudden this is a little bit less of a hot, hot commodity. Yeah. Like, where'd it go? It's like, I thought you had said subtract.
I don't know. No one knows. We didn't have tracing on.
No,
I misheard you.
All right. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for chatting. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the nice demo. If you want to try tracing out, go to kagent.dev. There's a documentation page that explains how to do it. It's in the latest K-Agent build as well. If you want to join the community, you can do that as well. We have a Discord. We have weekly community meetings, bi-weekly contributor meetings, right? A lot of interesting stuff is happening. So yeah, join us, and we'll see you all next time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
See you all later.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.